The views, information, and opinions expressed during the following program are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent the views of Access Communications, its representatives, or its employees.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular council meeting of February 27th. We'll call the meeting to order. Under presentations this evening, we have none. Could I have a motion, please, to adopt the agenda as presented? Thank you. Councillor Clark. Seconded by. We'll go with Councillor Ford. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, could we have a motion, please, to accept the minutes of the council meeting as presented? Thank you. Councillor Vrobas, seconded by Councillor Cernick. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Okay, under original communications, delegations, and petitions, we've got quite a few tonight. First of all, we've got from the Estevan Strippers Hockey Club. They will be hosting their 39th annual hockey tournament April 12th to 16th of 23 after a 2-year hiatus due to COVID. The tournament was held last year with a full complement of 40 teams. With only a turnover of 3 teams from the last tournament held in 19. It speaks to the popularity of the tournament. Having 40 teams in a tournament means we have a total of 60 games, which means we need 3 rinks to complete the schedule. Since the closure of the Civic, we've had to move several games to Beanfate, who thankfully hold their ice for us into mid-April, despite not much other activity in that rink. Holding a tournament of this size definitely benefits many of the businesses in Estevan. Last year, 16 of the 40 teams booked 2 nights accommodation in local motels, while several others in the area stayed Saturday night following the cabaret. This also means extra revenue for other businesses in the city. Despite missing 2 tournaments in a row, the strippers continued to make several donations in the area, including $2,000 annually to sponsor the Parent-Taught Skate Program. Other donations are shown in the attached document. This brings our total donations to over $220,000 since 1997. Our profit margin has been decreasing, but we continue to honor our commitments. We also have ownership of a cooler trailer, which we give out to non-profit organizations, most recently to the Scotties and the Tankard at no charge. We use the Power Dodge Curling Center for our beer gardens and cabarets, and we provide free rides home Thursday to Saturday with the help of Baker Hughes Oil Company. We also hire professional security, which costs us close to $5,000 for the 2 cabarets. Last year, our rental for ice at Affinity Place and the Power Dodge Arena was close to $13,000, while a Beanfate ice cost us close to $4,000. We also paid $3,500 for the rental of the Power Dodge Curling Center. We are sending this letter to request the city waive the rental fee for the Power Dodge Curling Center. Since there would be no other use of this facility during this time frame, we feel the cost to the city would be very minimal. We thank you for your consideration. Estevan Strippers, Mr. Rohatton. So what's the wish of council? Go ahead, Councillor Cernick.
I have to step out as well as stripper.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. Let it be known that Councillor Cernick has stepped out with there being a conflict, because he's one of the better players on the team. There we go. Okay, what's the Councillor Ford?
Thanks, Your Worship. Never in my life would I've ever thought I'd hear Councillor Cernick saying I have to leave because I'm a stripper, but whatever. Has this request...
Only at Estevan.
Exactly. Has this request ever come forward to us before? Have they always paid the ice or for the rental at the curling rink?
I'm not sure.
Thank you, Councillor Ford. I know prior to COVID, there was a presentation from the strippers to waive the curling rink fee, and it was during a transition time where they had been dealing with the curling club prior to and then switched. So I think there was a waive of the fees during that
There
period.
was some confusion.
But I will have to look back on that. But I think we have in some years in the past provided this free charge.
Okay, we've got, the full board of council. So we'll start Councillor Walliser, then we'll go to Councillor Clark, and then Councillor Vroba.
Thank you, Your Worship. Can we confirm that they are correct, that there's no other use of this facility at that time?
We can check that. Rod, I don't know, would you be aware, or Aaron? Is that true?
There's nothing else.
Okay, thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Worship. I'm very aware of all of the things that this organization does to bring people into our community. I mean, the number of people they bring every year, and then really they're putting the money right back in the community, the work that they do to do that. I'm certainly here to support this motion, and I'd put that forward to waive those fees. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Clark has made the motion. Go ahead, Councillor Vroba.
Thank you, Your Worship. I, too, agree with what Councillor Clark said. I think the strippers are a lot of hardworking men, and a lot of their wives help out at this tournament, too. And also, I do believe in the past we have waived the fees. And I think the fact that they're also paying for Affinity Place rental, Power Dodge Arena rental, and they do bring in a lot of business to Estevan hotels, restaurants, and shopping, I think it's a great thing for us to put our support behind, so I will second the motion.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Vroba, any other questions, comments? Seeing none, ready for the motion? All in favour? Carried. Thank you. Councillor Walliser, could I pray on you to open the door? Oh, do we have one more? Okay. Oh, yes, we do. Thank you. Hockey Club Events Permit, April 12th to 16th. Thank you for that. So what's the wish of council on that? Councillor Walliser?
Acceptance and approval?
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Ford?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Oh, thanks, Rod. Now, who says, Councillor Walliser, that chivalry is dead? Just seen it firsthand. And let it be noted that Councillor Cernick is back in the building. Okay, next, under original communications, delegations, and petitions, we have Affinity Track citizen correspondence. I'll try to be brief. First off, we have from Megan LeBlanc. Dear Mayor Ludwig, thank you for allowing the opportunity to help alleviate issues, make the community better by improving the following strategies. Initially, council made it clear the rules on the track were not going to hinder or harm anyone. We feel, I have consulted with multiple community members, feel this is a fair version that will allow all community members to utilize the track. Thank you for your time. I'm certain that this may be a better solution for all concerned. Megan is suggesting, number one, be courteous to all other users. This is a shared space where all are welcome. Be mindful of the multiple users with different speeds and abilities. Always look both directions before crossing the track to avoid collision. Keep to the left or inside slow lane, pass on the right or outside faster lane. Proceed around the track counterclockwise. Other exercise equipment required must be a minimum of 12 inches off the track, except walking poles, no wheels except strollers, wheelchairs, or other assisting tools, no mini sticks, pucks, balls, etc. Group training on track lanes must be single file, no socks or bare feet. The track will have no access to teams on weekdays from 8 to 10 a.m. Some exceptions may apply. Example, if hockey tournaments start early. Then we've got from Tessa Young. Just wanted to express my concern with the new rules being imposed for the track at Affinity. I feel by talking about the options to dryland train, be it teams before games, personal trainers, or individuals, is a poor decision. I'm proud of everyone there working out for their physical health and motivated by them as well. I homeschool my oldest child. We go there to race each other in the mornings before we start schoolwork, as he has ADHD, and in the winter we don't have a lot of spaces to help burn that energy. We have always been encouraged and cheered on by the retired walkers that are saying, "Good for you. A boy his age should be running." The track is the one place in town to get physical activity in the winter without having to pay for it, which is really great for everyone's physical and mental health. I hope the council will reconsider this decision and leave the rules the way they are. Hunter Piche, I would like to state my opinion on the new rules put in place dealing with the walking track. For starters, it's a hockey rink, therefore hockey players should not have limited time on their home facility track. Every rink that's fortunate enough to have a nice track like Estevan's is a huge bonus and perk for every hockey team in that community. From young minor hockey players all the way up to juniors, off-ice training and warm-ups play a huge role on ice performance and also safety. Properly warming up off ice is huge when it comes to on-ice injury prevention. This should not have a time limit on it. The rule of only having 15 minutes to warm up before a game is not enough. During quiet time is not near enough for high-level hockey players to properly warm up, prepare for a game. Taking this perk away from our city teams is not right. Estevan has many competitive hockey teams, and a lot of players choose to play in Estevan because of our beautiful facility. So why start taking away perks from hockey players who choose to represent playing for our city? Your solution of renting out the multi-purpose is just more money in your pockets. Teams and parents already pay an arm and a leg for their children to play hockey. There should not be additional fees needed to get off-ice training and warm-ups in. This is all directly solely on hockey players and hockey teams, which I cannot comprehend as it is a hockey rink we're talking about. Our city should be proud of players putting in extra work and effort to represent their community team with full effort. If for whatever reason our rink needs quiet time, have it in the mornings when people can have their walks in peace, if that's what the issue is. The quiet times you guys have set is prime for when hockey is being played. It's embarrassing that our community hockey rink has a quiet time to begin with. Hockey is a loud, exciting game. The facility that is being played in should not be forcing quiet time. I would love to know the logic behind these decisions because from my perspective and many others, there is none. At the end of the day, it's a hockey rink. Let it be a hockey rink. Let the players in Estevan have the opportunity to utilize it the way hockey rinks have been used forever. This needs to be changed. And then from Jill DuSalto, I hope I spelled or said that right. I'm writing to express my concern for the new rules with affinity. While I agree with a small portion of the rules, such as no mini sticks, why is there no equipment use allowed on the side of the track? I'm not saying you need to bring your entire gym to the track, but why not a skipping rope or a mat if you're on the sides away from the walking track? Users have to rent and pay for the multi-purpose users have to rent and pay for the multi-purpose in this situation, which, yes, we would expect that. Who is patrolling what is a jog, what is a run? My children often use the track to run when we can't get outside. I encourage them to run as long as they're staying to the side and being respectful of other walkers. I don't see the harm in encouraging physical activity on the track. On another note, who's patrolling for the patrons that walk 4 across the track? I didn't see anything in the rules for that. I have seen many age groups use the walking track throughout the years and have never felt that anyone has been disrespectful to others, whether they are walking, running, or jogging. I hope council continues to discuss this. This comes from Councillor Cernick after his meetings. After our minor hockey meetings, a few changes arose. Procedure 3, add wheelchairs should be allowed. This was a request from EMHA and a friend who is in a wheelchair. No access on Mondays and Thursdays. They would like the times changed to 4 p.m. and 7 and not 4 p.m. to 9 due to Canskate being done at 7. Also, the idea of having nights hours where EMHA is allowed to train at their will, possibly Tuesdays or Wednesdays, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Everyone bring your thoughts and let's discuss on Monday. So we'll open the floor to council and go ahead, Councillor Vroba.
Thank you, Your Worship. I also had a few people contact me this last couple weeks. Basically, the gist of it is a lot of people would just like to see it go back to the way it was before, have it dealt with a case-by-case basis. If we have the odd person out there causing a ruckus or sprinting, which was another cause of confusion, the original proposal by City Council didn't actually say no running, it was no sprinting. So I think it was reported just a little bit differently at first. And even the sprinting, I had people come to me and say, they go there on the track on, say, at 3 o'clock on a middle of the week, they're sprinting, but they're only doing it in small sprints, and they're doing that to build their cardio. So is that not allowed? You know, and it's hard to say to someone, well, no, you can't sprint when you're the only 2 people on the track. So it just seemed like some of our rules were put in without fully understanding the reach of where it was going to affect. Another thing was people standing on the track. They said a lot of people are in there doing their walk, whether they're going slow or fast, but there's people that are standing on the track. 9 out of 10 times, you just have to say, excuse me, we're walking, and people would move. It's coexisting amongst different user groups, and basically—
And respect has a lot to do.
Respect, 100%. I don't know if anyone goes to the co-op at 9 a.m. I'm a frequent flyer there. One of my retired guys that were in there having coffee came up to me and said there was drones being flying all around the arena. I said, what? And he said, yeah, right by the sprinters. And he laughed. He said, that's how ridiculous these rule changes are. So this is a group of men who go to the Affinity Place and they walk every day. They said they never see any issues. They said, we're out there, we're old, we're all working with these people. There's like a lot of different moms that talked to me that basically said their kids aren't just involved in hockey, they're involved sometimes in summer sports, and they're going in there to try and get their stamina, their cardio up, and they're running. They're using the stairs, and they're also being respectful. They said they go whenever they can have time. So again, it's respecting what's going on in there. I had a couple of ladies tell me they go there and they train. They do bring some small equipment. They're always respectful of anybody else in the building. But they said, are we allowed to now go out in the foyer and do it? Can we go out in the hallway? Like, is it just the track that we can't have equipment? And I remember when I was going to the gym at the leisure center, there was women that would go out and do lunges in the hallway. They weren't hurting anybody because there was nobody else at that time. Like, they wouldn't have probably done it if it was prime time, swimming lessons, etc. But I think when you're in a facility that is basically, it's not just a hockey rink. It's there for all different sports.
It's an event center. Right,
it's an event center, but a lot of people do view it as a sports center. So, you know, and we want to try and get that out through that it's an event center, but it's a sports facility. And so we have so many different people that are using that facility for all different types of sports. And like the one lady said, just getting our kids out there to run off that energy. And I think we've done a good job of being able to coexist since the Affinity Place opened. And I would like to see us minimize any changes that are made to the old rules, other than I didn't mind a few that Megan talked about, just, again, like you said, being respectful, making sure that we're aware of all the different user groups, and whether it's somebody sprinting by someone who's walking with a child, or if it's someone just standing on the track visiting because they're in the middle of an intermission and they're unaware that they're on the middle of a walking track. It just, by educating each other and different user groups in there, I think we can go back to coexisting without making too many changes.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Vroba. Councillor Ford.
Thanks, Your Worship. I think this lesson, or this issue kind of serves as a lesson to not only us as a council, but the community as well. I mean, over the number of weeks, I've received a number of phone calls saying, well, you guys did this behind our backs, this was in secret. This has been on our table for 2 months now. It has been almost exactly 2 months that this came into open, and I believe we actually did even say, hey, if anybody's got any suggestions, let us know. But until an issue happens that directly affects the citizens of our community, it never comes up. Nobody has feedback. We submit millions of dollars in budget considerations. Nobody ever gives any feedback until something comes up that affects them, and then we get the phone calls, and by then we'd already passed it, which then serves as a lesson to us is how do we engage with our community better. So I think going forward, if we were to do policies like this or have requests for policies, maybe we should have a public consultation, send out a survey or something online. It doesn't even have to be a town hall or anything, just a quick survey with our community page to say, hey, what would you like to see as a rule for XYZ, this or that? But after saying all that, I do agree with Councillor Veroba in that some rules I do agree with in Megan's. Some of them are very minimal. They would have a small amount of impact on people, but it would keep everyone kind of in sync and working together. And just another thing is, I think we would like to apologize for the wheelchair thing. We kind of all assumed that it was in there, so I would like to apologize to say that it wasn't our intention to limit people from using wheelchairs on our track.
Yeah, you're right, Councillor Ford, thank you. We had assumed that. And I believe it was Councillor Walliser had said it's a living document, and we're always willing to change. And we did not put up the changes yet because we knew there may be some suggested changes coming. So here we are to have that discussion. Thank you, Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Your Worship. I honestly don't think we've given it enough time to see what the issues were. I think we put out a document that said this is how we want to operate and that we would open it up with that, but I don't think it's had enough time to actually go through the rest of the hockey season and to go into the summer months to see what issues would be there. So I'm supportive of leaving it the way it is. I think we'll find out and make those changes, but we need to give it a little time to evolve. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Clark. Go ahead, Councillor Sir.
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, just to kind of touch, I kind of agree a little more time would take it, but the no access, I don't remember why we were at 4 to 9 or whatever, even for why we had no access for those 2 days. Can skate is all I remember, but they don't actually use the track or anything like that. So, because we just kind of ran into an issue, because minor hockey, they could live with 4 to 7. But then apparently every Monday now, I'm not sure which team, but they practice at 7:15, and they've always done their dry land before their practice on Mondays. So, and again, as far as anybody can tell, there's never been any issues with them going to do that. So there was one change probably I'd like to see would be the no access to the.
Take the times off?
Just take the times off, and like I said, if something arises, we can always change it, right? So.
Yeah, I agree, Councillor Cernak. I think so much of this is common sense. Again, the more rules, the less justice. Take the times off, and again, we're sorry about the wheelchair. That was not intentional. We just thought that as a given. And if we took the times off, and even the equipment, again, maybe we don't want the weights of barbells, which people potentially could trip over. And I know that had been brought to us as a concern some time ago. Maybe the mats, if they're off the track, or the skipping rope. I think there was a suggestion on that. I don't know. We can talk to Aaron on that. And I think part of the reason why we didn't, again, is to reiterate, put the rules up, is that we want to get it right before we put it up on the wall. And again, the less writing, the more said. Just be respectful, and I think for the most part, it has worked over the years since it's opened, so I think we have to be careful about any major changes. Councillor Walliser.
Thank you, Your Worship. I've also received quite a bit of feedback on this policy, and the collective spirit is that people enjoy the track and they want to use the track. And one of the conversations that's kept coming up is the team's use of tracks. What happens when a group of people want to use the track? And that's the part of the policy that I think we really need to work on over the coming months, to say, okay, if you're a member of synchronized swimming, you're not permitted to show up during public swim and exercise on the side of the pool. You get an extra space. How can we give that extra space within our existing facility to these teams as well? So I would agree with Councillor Clark that more time is needed to really see. I don't know how many hours minor hockey needs dryland training for. I don't know what other teams in our community are utilizing the track for that group experience, and I think that would be important to know before we continue to make changes.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Frank.
Thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, there's, there's a lot of great feedback we got here, which is nice. I particularly appreciate Ms. LeBlanc actually giving some suggestions. It's nice to have suggestions because we don't always know, and then we're kind of shooting blindly, so that's good. I think between that, what minor hockey gave us, which again was some great suggestions and feedback, we could easily rebuild our policy, and so I guess I would make the recommendation that we would send this back to our management just to take some time, do some more consultation, and then rebuild or repropose a policy that would maybe fit in along with a lot of the feedback we got here. I think there's still a few things that do need to be officially written in just for liability. I think that's one of the things the public doesn't always understand. They like to believe that we live in a world where the city can't possibly get sued, and that's just not reality, unfortunately. So there's a few things like equipment and stuff that probably will need to still be in there. But yeah, I would make the recommendation that we would put this back just to have a new
Okay, so perhaps
draft
leave it and revisit it in the fall,
Yeah, we
Councillor?
can revisit it in the fall with a new draft kind of based off of what feedback we've gotten thus
off the
far. And
feedback
something,
between now and next fall?
yeah, and then something we can work on then. So yeah, that'd be my,
Okay,
my motion.
thank you, Councillor Frank, and I think Councillor Clark, you'd be okay with that because you kind of brought that up. Leave it, right, for a while, till next fall?
Thanks, Your Worship. I guess I thought that we had come up with something, but if your idea is that we relook at it and see how it fits and see how we've affected people, I could support that to say, let's get the impact over the rest of the hockey season in the summer to see how it would fit in for the community.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Groba?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to clarify, Councillor Frank, if your recommendation is to just leave it as is without implementing the new rules until management has a time to basically come back and let us know what they feel would be a good change if any was needed, because the one thing I would caution us as a council is changing anything regarding groups using the track, mostly because if we start blocking off, then we start preventing people from coming in. So if we're blocking off in a block of area or time slots with this team or that team or minor hockey themselves, then we're stopping someone else from coming in. And again, right now, they're coexisting. We have people coexisting. And I think even like with synchro swimming, if they were to show up at public swim, we probably wouldn't stop them from doing anything too crazy on the side unless it was a safety issue. And that's where I go back to management. If there's an issue, if there's a safety issue, then it has to be dealt with. And I think that's where it has to be dealt with, number one, on a case-by-case basis with the individual that's causing the safety issue or causing us to be put into an area where we could be sued. And if it becomes a broader issue, then that's what I think needs to come back to council. I think if it's a safety issue, then yes. Because, again, I can see it's swimming. You're going to stop that because it's a safety issue. If a track, I was a hockey mom for so many years. When those guys are out there, guys and girls using the track for warm-up, they're respectful, 99.9%. If they're not, there's a hockey mom that's going to yell at them. So that's where I just feel like, I just caution us putting in too many rules about blocking off team times in there. But yeah, I would be in favor of supporting, we leave everything as is to the old rules,
and then
revisit this in the fall
and
if there's change.
Yeah, I think
so. My motion would be to revisit or to leave it as it is, so not with the policy that was proposed 2 weeks ago, but with just, I guess essentially remove the policy because we didn't have a policy before, correct?
Right.
Yeah, so we would be removing the policy for the time being and revisiting. I will just really quickly add, there was, on top of negative feedback, I did receive some positive feedback from a number of people who are also, I appreciate the many people who do a lot of the group training and there are very many comments. There was a lot of people who don't do group training, a lot of seniors who, while they say it may be respectful, it is also uncomfortable to walk when you're a senior and there's people there. So I think there's some validity to needing some sort of a policy. I really do. But yeah, I want to make sure we get it right, and I want to make sure we have as much consultation with as many people as possible. Obviously, this is something on people's minds now, so I don't think we'll see the end of our feedback coming, and something we can pay attention to for the next few months. But yeah, for the time being, my motion would be that we remove the current policy that was put in 2 weeks ago that we haven't really implemented as of this yet, or a point, and we have nothing until we come up with something a little better.
Have a look at it. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Ford.
Thanks, Your Worship. I agree with Travis Frank, but with this feedback that we're asking for, can we have a structured system for that feedback? Creating a survey, sending something out to all the hockey teams saying what is your impact? What do you use this track for? When do you use it? What rules would you suggest? Because I know I've heard, been at hockey games before and somebody's told somebody else's kid to stop running and that parent comes up and be like, well, I don't see any rules about it. And I know that's happened before, and I think the age of sometimes where maybe a hockey mom will give some other kids crap, it doesn't happen anymore sometimes. But so I would really like to see some sort of structured format that we can get feedback from instead of us just bringing all of our concerns back to council meetings like this.
Okay, so for example, perhaps if we want that structured, perhaps we could have minor hockey, the head of minor hockey, maybe the people go to that person and then they can bring that forward to us, at a later date, maybe toward fall, and the same with all the other organizations that use Affinity? Is that what?
That or something as simple, it's called Survey Monkey, just creating a quick little survey saying, do you use the track? If you say no, then you're done the survey. If you say yes, then you type in why, when you use it, and then suggestions for rules on the track, and if you want to leave it as is, tell us leave it as is. And then it's easy to kind of track the metrics of it as well, to say this many people who filled out the survey use the track, they don't use it, and then we can kind of get a little bit of a more quantifiable direction of what to do.
Okay, and we could put that Survey Monkey, if you like, on the city page? Okay, Councillor Frank, would that be okay if we add that to your motion?
I very much would agree with that in the motion, because I think something like an online survey can be very helpful because we can structure those questions to make sure it's not just a place to get negative comments which aren't helpful. We want to get feedback that will actually, so that those questions could be very valuable if we can structure them in a way that's, and I know our management team can handle that very easily. It doesn't have to be very significant. So just some quick questions to give us some feedback so we can figure out exactly what direction to go. So.
Okay, and Councillor Clark as seconder, you're okay with that?
Thanks, Your Worship. I guess I still see that if we've gone back where there's no rules, we're saying mini sticks are allowed, we're saying kids can do whatever they want on the track. We have no rules now.
Well, I think we had some basic rules at the beginning. We would go back to those.
Okay.
Yeah.
For sure. Thank you.
Okay, are we all clear now? Are we ready for the question? Councillor Walliser?
I'm sorry, Your Worship, I'm not familiar with what the original existing rules on the track were. Can you provide those to us?
Aaron, you probably have those memorized. I don't think we had that many, did we?
I do not have them memorized. They were extremely simplistic. It did say something about no balls or mini sticks. It did ask...
no wheels. No skateboarding.
Yeah,
no skateboarding, yeah.
I was just trying to look them up really quick because I realized somebody was going to ask me.
Yeah, they were pretty basic. I think there was 4 or 5. No loitering, yeah, that type of thing, yeah. Okay, so we'll, right, okay. Does that answer your question, Councillor Worley, Okay, ready for the question? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Aaron, did you have anything you wanted to add? No, thanks. Okay. Thank you for that. Okay.
Mayor, I have one thing.
Oh, sorry. City Manager,
One thing just to add, with doing online surveys, especially some of the seniors that may be affected may not be answering Survey Monkey, so we'll make sure there's paper copies there that they can fill out and drop at the leisure office.
Okay, thank you. That's a good idea. Perhaps around the track? Awesome. Thank you. Okay, next, under original communications, delegations, and petitions, we have Women of Distinction Awards request sponsorship. Now, this is a great organization, and it recognizes the women in our community that have done exceptional things. I mean, most women in our community do great things, but these are women that do exceptional things. So they're looking at sponsorship opportunities. The Southeast Women of Distinction Awards is a new event intended to carry on the tradition of the Women of Today Awards in Estevan, which has been awarded in the community for 21 years. On May 10th of 23, supporters of women in the Southeast will celebrate with a familiar luncheon at the Wiley Mitchell Building in Estevan. 5 awards will be distributed to deserving women in the community. We invite you to join in support of women in the Southeast by becoming a sponsor. So we've got Royal Diamond 5,000, Ruby 4,000, Sapphire, 1,500. Emerald is 2,000. Amethyst is 1,000. Crystal is 500. So what's the wish of council on this? Thank you. Councillor Vroba.
Thank you, Your Worship. Do we know what the money is being raised for, where the donation would go towards after?
I believe, and I've been part of this for many, many years, I believe it's putting the event together, because they have it in the Wiley, all the tables are draped, all the chairs are draped. It's a first-class meal. The awards themselves, although I don't believe they're monetary, they're very nice awards, so it's probably the money in getting this all together. I think the speaker that they get comes in from outside, and I think they have to pay something for that speaker as well. So, yeah. And renting the hall and, you know, all of the rest of it.
So, yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. And I think I would just like to say, maybe, in my opinion, that maybe the city manager could make this as part of his extra money that he has to go towards some of these events that happen, and maybe there's even some in kind that could be done here.
Okay.
If the city
So
could.
you're suggesting to take it out of the little bit of money that the city manager and myself get to donate on behalf of council, to take it out of that little cash?
Or you could make it even bigger by doing the in-kind donation, because we do have some things like the chairs, the tables, the linen.
You're right.
The different
that's
things
fair.
that, and
That's
again,
fair.
if they're having it at Wiley Mitchell already has tables and chairs. So possibly if the city could supply the linen for them, that would be an expense that they don't have to incur.
No, that's a fair comment.
Yeah.
Okay, we will look at looking at our little bit of money that we do give away every year. I think we have a limit of, what, 5,000? So we will look at that, and we will use it judiciously.
And if there's a
and we
way
will
you can-
report back to council on what was decided.
If there's a way you can stretch it for in-kind, then all the
Yeah,
power to
maybe
you.
half in kind and maybe a little bit of cash
Yeah.
on the side.
Because I would be in favor of supporting this, but in the same breath, if the money isn't going to an actual charity after, then I think that there's other ways the city can help.
Well, no, that's a fair comment. And again, as you know, we like to say it's a thin edge of the wedge. We only have so much monies as a public corporation to give out, like any other corporation, so we have to be careful. Okay?
Is that a recommendation?
Are you making
Yes,
that a
I'm
motion?
making a motion that
Okay.
the city manager decide what way of sponsorship he would like to provide for the
Yeah, rather
Women
than put it
of
all.
Distinction Awards.
Yeah, rather than put it all on the slender shoulders of the city manager, usually him and me and Judy get together when we do this.
I knew you would have his ear, so I thought by using him, but if you'd like all three of you
We
listed in
spread
that
the weight,
motion.
rather than put it on the city manager's slender shoulders.
Yes, 100%, you can have your input.
Okay. Have we got a seconder? Thank you. Councillor Cerdic. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, next, under original communications, delegations, and petitions, we have from the Southeast Military Museum, request for funding for plaque. Now, they're asking, they're going to put some more names on the cenotaph. I'll just read this. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you and the employees of the City of Estevan for all the support and assistance you provide to both the Southeast Military Museum and a branch of the Royal Canadian Legion, and your continued support in the future. The Legion and Museum have undertaken the feat to update and commemorate the residents of Estevan who have given the ultimate sacrifice to their country and community when they were called upon to do so. We are in the process of adding a plaque to the Legion and the cenotaph to recognize the community's involvement in the Afghanistan campaign, as well as adding names of the First and Second World Wars and Afghanistan that sacrificed all and that were not placed on the first plaque. In this endeavor, it is our goal to place these plaques by Remembrance Day of 23. We have already started the process and have realized that the cost in doing this will be great. At present, the total commitment to the Legion and Museum is going to be around $10,000. We have applied for grants. However, these are not guaranteed. We would like to ask you and the city for financial support to assist us in the project to be able to commemorate our residents properly and permanently by placing these bronze plaques on the Cenotaph and Legion for everyone to see. Any assistance that you could provide in this project would be greatly appreciated and be reflected in the gratitude of the veterans and citizens of this community. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions, and your time and consideration to this matter is greatly appreciated. Mr. Craig Bird, President and Curator of the Museum. So what's the wish of Council on this? Councillor Cernick.
I would make a motion to donate $1,000 towards the cause.
$1,000, okay, thank you. Councillor Cernick. Councillor Walliser.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do think there is still an active interest and an active responsibility to these members of our community. Just today, when I came to council, there were families out with young children reading the names on the cenotaph, and it's important that our community sees those names reflected. So I would like to second the motion for a $1,000 donation.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Walliser, and very much appreciated. These are people within our community that did make the ultimate sacrifice. Okay, Councillor Ford.
Thanks, Your Worship, and I'm sure he already knows he's always welcome, but maybe we could extend an invitation to Mr. Bird to come to a future council meeting. Just, it's been a while since we have had an update of what they're doing at the museum and what their plans are and everything, so I think it's nice for us to get an update every now and again, just so we can pass it along to the newcomers in the community as well and tell them what our services and things that happen in our community.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's always happy to come, so we can arrange that. Thank you. Okay, ready for the question? All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Next, we have under original communications, delegations, and petitions, the GFL CART report for January. Could I have a motion, please, to accept that? Thank you, Councillor Walliser. Seconded by Councillor Ford. Any further questions or comments? Saying, Councillor Walliser. Sorry.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a question about the recycling depot with the large green bins that people can drop their cardboard off at. What is the policy with GFL? Is there a set day of the week, or if they were overflowing, could a citizen call them in to have them emptied early? I was there about a week ago, and we were fortunate to have good weather, but there was cardboard spilling over each of the bins to the surrounding area, and I didn't know if they were coming to pick it up in 2 days or in another 6 days.
Yeah, that's a fair comment, Councillor Walliser. Usually if we notice, we'll call and they'll come early. It's a question of, like at Christmas time, they'll maybe come 2 or 3 times a week, and then in the regular times, not so much. They try to keep an eye on it as well, I believe. Okay, just point. Yeah. Councillor Frank.
Thanks, Your Worship. Actually, to Councillor Walliser, unless things have changed, which I'm fairly confident they haven't, they actually, for the most part, are dumping it almost every single day. It fills up that frequently. Sundays, they don't have drivers, but what their drivers do, because they drive past it every day, is they see it and they dump it. So, but I know that many bins actually do, on a standard week, get filled up every single day. I know at least that was the case when I was there, and yeah, they would dump them almost every day. So there's just that much cardboard. It is insane how much cardboard is brought there. So
it is a lot. Thank you for that. City Manager, did you want to remain quiet, or would you like to comment on that?
Thank you, Your Worship. We'll follow up with them and just let GFL know that there was a concern and that for them to continue to watch the bins and dump as needed.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Vroba.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was going to say that's impressive that many people are utilizing that, especially just to take the cardboard there instead of just using the blue bin that they have. But again, I was going to say that maybe it'd be nice if we put a sign up there that said these bins are emptied Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But now that I hear that they are emptied daily, if that's the case, then maybe we need an extra bin or 2 out there. But again, if they're emptied daily, I don't know how much more we could actually do, so that's good.
Well, yeah, that's right, Councillor Broba, and I think most of the stuff that people get from Amazon, they just use their own recycle bin. There must be a lot of people getting big stuff from Amazon, but I don't know. Who knows? But I know they do keep it empty. Councillor Frank.
I guess the one other thing that my good friends at GFL would want me to say at this moment is to make sure to please fold up your cardboard when you put it in there, because that is largely the reason that it gets full every day. Is very rarely does anybody actually fold the cardboard when they throw it in there. They'll throw it in its big box. If you look, usually it is giant unfolded boxes. So the bins fill up way faster because it's just empty space in between. So please fold your cardboard when you put it into the bin. It will allow others to be able to put their cardboard into. So
thank you, Councillor Frank. Good point.
I hope they're paying me for that PSA. I really do.
Good point. Please purchase a utility knife and cut your cardboard and fold it so you can get more in each bin. I think it's a fair comment. Okay, did I ask for the motion yet, City Clerk? We've been talking ad nauseum. What?
You have Councillor Walliser and Councillor Frank.
Okay, thank you. Ready for the question? All in favor? Thank you. Okay, next, under written reports of committees, we have from the Southeast Transportation Planning Committee, the minutes of January 24th. Do we have a motion, please, to accept these minutes? Thank you. Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Cernick. Councillor Clark, anything you'd like to add?
A couple of things, Your Worship. They have decided to put the rates up 10%, which will not affect Estevan because we're already at the maximum rate. And they have decided to go to, I think it's 9 meetings a year from 11. And some of them are more timely, doing away with one in the winter. They did away with the February one because it's sort of before budget when there's not much new news going on. And on top of that, the AGM is now in the end of April 25th. It will be at Kenosi Lake, and that had generally been more within June, end of June, but they think that time frame will work better for them. So a few changes on the logistics of the Transportation Committee, but other than that, we're moving along. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. And I know we've all chipped in to help Roch Percy, the City of Estevan, RM Estevan, I believe the RM of Coalfields, the Mayor of Roch Percy, probably the Mayor of Beanfate, because that access road to Roch Percy off the highway is basically a disaster. So hopefully with Minister Carr's help, we could get that done. It should have been done when they redid that pavement to Portal, but unfortunately it was forgotten. Go ahead, Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Your Worship. Yes, they have forwarded that letter on to the Southeast Transportation Committee, and it will be on the next meeting agenda. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Ready for the question? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, written reports of committees. We have the Creighton Lodge minutes of January 19th. And Councillor Vroba, is that you that always dutifully bring these forward? Is it Councillor Frank?
It is me because I am the manager, so I'm also the secretary of the committee, but
we could take this opportunity to jack up some of our other committees. We do expect you on your various committees to bring these minutes forward, okay? I'm just saying.
Yes, and I have heard through the grapevine that Creighton Lodge is very, very dutiful in making sure you guys receive these minutes, but it is myself that types them out, and it is Councillor Frank that is the rep, though.
Well, look at that, a joint effort. Councillor Frank, anything you'd like to add?
As I'm sure you can attest, Your Worship, good staff are what makes good minutes. So having a wonderful employee at Creighton Lodge is why you get the minutes for this, to keep tabs on things and make sure that all of us board members are on track. So I thank her very much for that.
Okay, awesome. Did we have a motion? Did you make that?
I will make the motion to accept and just say Creighton Lodge continues to run wonderfully. They won't let me move in yet, but I'd like to. And we do have a great fundraiser coming up, the Family Feud of Night fundraiser. There's still a few tables left, I see. So if you want to have a fun game show night and actually participate in Family Feud, definitely buy a table. It's very worthwhile. And it supports Creighton Lodge, which is a great place that we all know we want to live one day. So might as well keep it funded.
And maybe someday either that or another facility could be expanded because you guys do a great job.
Thank you, Worship. And actually, yes, for Creighton Lodge, that's our next thing we're going to proceed with is our kitchen expansion. We're hoping to build a brand new kitchen at the back of Creighton Lodge and then attach the two buildings, kind of similar to what we heard the senior home in Sunset Haven in Cardiff, I believe, did, but I could be wrong on that. So I think it was in Cardiff that did it. So we're going to take a look at that. And so, yeah, that's where our proceeds to our this year's fundraiser is going to go towards. And our goal is to make the kitchen bigger and better so that we can even expand to all the seniors that we actually reach out to for nutritious meals, to not just be in the Creighton Lodge, but maybe even someone who's homebound or can't get out, we can get them a meal somehow. So with a bigger, better kitchen, we can do that. Our kitchen right now is original 1959. We do have some updates, but the cupboards...
That coal stove is coming out?
Yeah, the coal stove is coming out, and the cupboards are pretty sturdy, so we might want to put them in the new kitchen, but, you know, we'll see. We'll work on that, so.
Good. And did you second that?
I did.
You did? Okay. Thank you, Councillor Broba. Ready for the question? All in favor? And yeah, there's nothing like a home-cooked meal for the elderly to get their appetites up. Absolutely. Okay, thank you. Next, under executive reports, we have our managers waiting patiently, and we thank you for that. Water Services Manager, Wastewater Treatment Plant Feasibility Study. Shane, please come up and hum a few bars about what this is all about.
So with the potential shutdown of Shand, currently our wastewater plant stores all the water in the winter, and then SaskPower takes all the water as boiler feed through their wetland system. So with the potential shutdown of the Shand power station, this is just more preemptive work just to make sure that if they do decide to shut down, that we know the costs that are associated with building a new wastewater plant, and that planning takes a long time. The downstream study was completed in 2021. That was started in 2020. So, and the feasibility report was started shortly after. So these are all steps in the process that if they do decide to shut down, we are continuing on that process. Through this, a company called Magna Engineering was hired. They presented us, they kind of work with green solutions or green options available, and they did present, they looked at the traditional methods as well as an additional method of using subsurface wetlands, which is different than surface wetlands because they don't freeze. So through this report, it's basically going over the costs of everything, of the expansions, and then providing an open house on the 6th and 7th to get public feedback, and then go forward with selecting one. And then if Shand does shut down, we have a plan in place to deal with the effluent leaving our plant.
Okay, thank you for that, Shane. And yeah, as Shane is saying, this is an alternative to the more expensive mechanical systems. It was kind of, I think, established in Saudi or somewhere over there. And now they do it in BC. They do it in Alberta. They haven't done it here yet. We've been talking to Minister Carr. She's going to help us to get that through the provincial legislature so we can allow that here in Saskatchewan. It is a very good system, and it's a fraction of the cost of what a mechanical system could be, which you see some costs here, but it could be upward of $80 million on a mechanical system. This would be a fraction of that. So what we want to do is a trial period, see if we can make that work here on a smaller basis. If it does, then it'll be a very good system for the city of Estevan. Any questions or comments of Shane? Councillor Cernick.
It's probably good news for they're going to run natural gas to Shand. So hopefully that will extend, you know what I mean? Hopefully Shand doesn't shut down. So
yeah, and again, yeah, we don't know any of that yet. We haven't been told that, Councillor Cernick. That is what we're hearing. You know, we're trying to, we've been working very hard municipally to get the federal government to the table, to get the province and SaskPower and the stakeholders to the table. We haven't arrived at that juncture yet, but we understand that finally things are moving toward that end, and hopefully we'll find out more. Hopefully we can get a thoughtful idea of the timeline on what we're looking at to the end of coal. Again, that will take a little bit of time, but hopefully we can get all the stakeholders in the room and decide what that looks like, and then we can go from there. But you're right, this is preventative maintenance. Shane and his team are looking ahead, knowing that what may happen, we have to be ready for, and systems like this take time to go through the trial basis, see if it works in our environment. So we want to do that ahead of time, knowing that it will work, then we're ready to go to put something like that in place. Councillor Grova?
Thank you, Worship. And if it came to the time where we had to spend the millions and millions of dollars to get this going, is this something that SaskPower may come to the table?
Yes. Because this has the potential, Councillor Vrova, to be a huge amount of money, in our discussions, SaskPower tends to be somewhat tentative, but they have agreed that they're a big and will be a big part of this solution.
Yeah.
So at this point, they're very willing, and City Manager has been very good at keeping them fully informed every step of the way. They're a partner in this, a full partner. They're aware of that. They're working with us toward this solution.
Perfect. Good to hear. Thank you.
Yeah. Councillor Ford?
Thanks, Your Worship. Shane, maybe I missed it in your report, but you just mentioned a date for public consultation. What dates were those?
They were next Monday and Tuesday, the 6th and 7th, at
Okay.
the Tech Hub.
Okay.
From 5 to 7.
Yeah, and we feel the Tech Hub will facilitate. Usually, when we have these open houses, we have 1 to 2 people. We're hoping we'll have a few more. I mean, it's a positive thing. So hopefully we'll have the people come out, and we will have some munchies there and coffee. Go ahead, Councillor Ford.
Thanks, Your Worship. Are we able to send just an invite to the First Nations reserves in the area as well, the Pheasant Rump and Ocean Man? I mean, it's been a long time, I think, since Shand has been doing this project, and I would assume there hadn't been any Indigenous consultation on it. And if they come, that's great. But just at least then we can say we did it.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And we have been working very closely with Connie Big Eagle from Ocean Man on a couple of projects, and we respect very much it. We have a very good relationship. We've also reached out to Annette Lone Child from White Bear, and we will be meeting with her and establishing a relationship with her band as well. Okay? Any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Wallies.
Can you speak to what the next steps are? Will anything proceed prior to this open house? Are we looking at implementing a test this spring?
Yeah, well, and again, I don't think I'm speaking out of school here, but SBC did set aside some monies a year or two ago to be used in this type of fashion, $300,000. So we're looking at about $150,000 to $200,000. We've kept that money intact to put forward toward this study, this trial study. And then we're looking at FCM coming to the table with at least probably quite a bit more, which will be federal monies to do this trial. So we're quite excited about it. We did have the privilege of meeting with this engineering firm. 2 ladies came down, very, very bright, very impressive. And there's another individual with their engineering firm too. He's so bright that, I mean, he's not on the same level, just put it that way. But I mean, we have full confidence that these people know what they're doing. Go ahead.
One more comment, Your Worship. Looking at table 7.3, it looks like the city had kind of picked what their relative weighting score would be, and we had indicated that water reuse opportunities and climate change resiliency were a lower weight. And I just wanted to emphasize that I think water reuse and climate change resiliency actually have economic benefits down the road. And so as we move forward, I would like to see that we do weight those more heavily than they've been weighted in this initial round.
Yeah, and that's a fair point and a good point. As we move toward change to decarbonization, there will be lots and lots of more jobs created, more than we realize as we move down that road. They're already starting to see that out east. Okay, did we get a motion on that? No, okay. Could we have a motion, please, to accept the report? Thank you, Councillor Frank, seconded by Councillor Vroba. Ready for the question? All in favor? I'm going on like a soup sandwich, and I forget if we made the motion or not. Hoofda to spell me off, exactly. Okay, next, under executive reports, we have again from the Water Services Manager, the Drinking Water Quality Annual Report. Now, it is a thick document, but it's a very positive document. Shane, did you have any comments?
The main thing of it is that we did have the aluminum issue that we seem to have gotten solved. It was we kind of found out through our testing that we do with third-party labs. Through that, we've brought in the testing to be done in-house, so we do the test weekly. We worked with the Water Security Agency and amended our permit to operate so that we would make sure that we're well underneath those levels. And those are the sort of things that happen when you're coming on to a new raw water source like we have without a whole lot of precedent of being used. So it's just kind of the growing pains of the system. And that's also why we have the testing in place we do, is to catch things like this before it becomes a long-term or unknown issue.
And we're so happy we switched from Boundary with all of those undissolved solids, i.e. duck feces, and switched to Rafferty. And now the trimethylanes are not an issue. And I think we're meeting or exceeding every single level. Is that not true?
Yes, our chemical dosages have basically halved from switching. The other bonus part is the taste and odor is a lot better year-round. The turbidity is a lot cleaner, to the point where we have to meet different restrictions because the water coming in is so clear. The hardness is down. It's been a complete win for the project.
Absolutely, and we'd like to take that opportunity to thank council and the management team for doing that. I know we stuck our necks out when we did that Rafferty pipeline, but it's been a total win-win. Any other questions or comments from members of council? Go ahead, Councillor.
Thanks, Your Worship. Any update on, you had a water leak on that pipeline about a month ago, was it, or how that was resolved?
Yeah, that was, there are air releases along the pipeline, and what had happened is the ports for the air release, like it's a float, sometimes get plugged, and it was a 1/4 inch drain just leaking over a long period of time. And that's all it was. There was no worry about washing away. We do also have, there's a flow meter coming out of Rafferty and a flow meter coming into the water plant, and we didn't see any major discrepancies off of that. So if there is a major leak, it'll instantly flag an alarm at our plant. It's all stuff we track.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, could we please have a motion then to accept the Drinking Water Quality Annual Report? Thank you, Councillor Ford, seconded by Councillor Clark. Thank you. Did you have a question, Councillor Clark? Okay. Any further comments? If not, all in favor? Carried. Thank you so much. Next, under executive reports, again, we have from the Water Services Manager, the Wastewater Annual Report. Anything you wanted to mention, Shane, on that?
This year we were able to do a complete plant shutdown and cleaning. Over the years, there has been tons of grit, sand, feces buildup over time. This is the first year we were able to completely drain it down and then clean it out. I'd like to thank my staff for going down there and picking and shoveling and moving everything by hand and cleaning it all up.
Thank you, Shane. We'd like to take this opportunity to thank them as well. I know we've got great employees, and sometimes they go beyond. In this case, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done that in my time, but it was on the farm, and you had no choice. So, yeah, we really appreciate that.
So after that, as well as we found better, the treatment process has been a lot better. So we're going to try to do that every 5 years to make sure that we don't have that build up again.
That's a great idea.
The only other notable thing that happened is that the Ministry of the Environment took away our drying pad at the landfill. So this means that we're putting wet solids into the dump right now, which is about 1.3 million kgs of wet solids a year going into the landfill. Now, we do have a plan on place with dealing with that with the incinerator.
Thanks to you with the incinerator, and council agreed to that in budget, so we can maybe move forward to that probably, sooner than later?
Yes, I have met with them already. They are just going back to figuring out design-wise to make sure that it can meet our solids that are being processed through the plant. And then we'll be able to reduce our waste into the landfill by 95%. And potentially count as carbon credits. So, and we can look to sell those. But I want to get the thing up and running first before I move on to that.
Good. No, we appreciate that. And, it'll help with the odor as well with some of our neighbors. So that's a win-win. And unfortunately, these regulations come out and, they're hard on us, cost us a lot of money. And of course, we don't get that corresponding money when they give us more restrictions, which is very unfortunate.
Well, and it was actually a pretty good year.
Any further questions or comments from members of council? If not, could we have a motion, please, to accept from the Water Services Manager the wastewater annual report? Thank you. Councillor Wallies, seconded by Councillor Ford. Thank you. Ready for the question? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, thanks, Shane. You're relieved, and now I guess Rod steps up to the podium. From the Leisure Services Manager, Parks and Open Spaces Sponsorship Policy 2022-80. Rod, could you please give us a thumbnail sketch of this?
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. Thank you for giving me some time here tonight. So what this is, of course, we discussed this previously as a draft. So right now, all it is a framework, a policy framework that allows us to get any sponsorship, enter into partnerships with our assets that we have in the parks and open spaces. We've been getting a lot of inquiries about it. How do I go about buying a bench? How do I go about contributing to a pool? This sort of thing outside. So all this policy does is allows us to provide that framework to get things in place. So I've given lots of examples in here, but there's lots of open-ended discussion available as well when it comes to different partnerships, different ways of doing things. But the main goal here is to try and capture some type of partnership with assets. And when it comes to assets, of course, the costs that are in here are for the acquisition. Every asset goes through its stages of life, which is the acquisition, the maintenance, the operation, the disposal, and the renewal. What we're talking about here is the acquisition of that, and the city takes it over as a city-owned asset, maintains it, operates it, gives it a timeline in terms of the sponsorship, and then they have the first right of refusal to renew that sponsorship. I've addressed some of the concerns from previous discussions on this with respect to existing agreements that are in place. I don't want people to think that, we've got to do this now or that now. No, there's ample room here for grandfathered clauses in there when we have good community organizations like the Lions Club and the Kinsmen and stuff like that. So there's provisions in there to allow for that.
Okay, thank you very much, Rod, for your efforts in this regard. Any questions or comments from members of council? Seeing none, see, you did such a great job. You've gobsmacked them. They don't have any questions, which is a positive. I knew it. The question always comes up. Yeah. Go ahead, Councilor.
I just wanted to thank you, Rod, for your hard work on this. And we did, just so everybody in the public that's watching tonight knows, we did go over this in depth at one other time, and so basically I believe we answered all our questions at that time. So tonight we're all just impressed with your hard work, and thank you for that.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Broba.
Thank you for the comments. And I just want to add one more thing, that the second part to all of this is that the digital or spatial mapping is coming too, and I'm working with land development and our existing software that we have in the city, that people will be able to zoom in on a particular parcel, property, whatever, and see what's available for sponsorship. We will have all of those in there. So I'm pretty excited about that part of it too.
Okay, thank you so much again, Rod. Do we have a motion, please, to accept? Thank you, Councillor Vroba, seconded by Councillor Walliser. Ready for the question, all in favor? Thank you, passed. Thank you, Rod. And thank you again, Shane. Next, land development. Richard, you're up to the docket. Please, proposed subdivision and road closure, RM Carbon Crescent. And I guess our neighbor, the RM of Estevan. Oh, okay, thank you, Councillor Vroba. Let it be noted. Councillor Vroba has left the chambers due to a conflict. I guess, Richard, they're going to that street Carbon, they're cutting off 2 lots, and they're going to consolidate them, correct?
Yes, there's a, to just get everybody placed, you know where the Petrocan is on the bypass? There's a multi-lot industrial subdivision just going south of it. It's a dead-end road, or a crescent, and then there used to be a road from that internal roadway, a crescent, going eastwards, but now it butts the bypass, and you know there's not going to be another access to the bypass right there. So what they're trying to do is close that section of road and then add each half to the adjacent lots. One of the reasons why I brought it forward to council is there is that policy that everyone council's aware of about the 5-acre rule. Basically, we don't approve industrial lots larger than 5 acres, and they don't approve lots smaller than 5 acres. The 2 existing lots that are going to be accepting portions of this closed road allowance are already well under 5 acres. This subdivision and road closure will help bring them further towards that 5-acre rule to meeting it, but it's not going to meet it. The other issue with it, or thing to have for consideration, is the original subdivision that was created predates the agreement for the 5-acre rule. It is, yeah, the subdivision was created and surveyed in April 2008 and registered on June 6th of 2008. The agreement with the 5-acre came later on that year in August. So there isn't really there is a conflict on technical terms, but the subdivision brings it closer to meeting the current standard. And so I'm asking for council to authorize me to send a letter into community planning, which is the subdivision authority for the RM, stating that on these considerations, we have no objection to the proposal.
Thank you, Richard. So your recommendation is to move forward.
Yeah.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Councillor Walliser?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Cernick, second it. Ready for the question? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Richard.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Walliser. Let it be noted, Councillor Vroba has come back into council chambers. City Clerk, thank you. Okay, next, under executive reports, we have from the tax assessor the list of land in arrears. Could we get a motion, please, to accept that? Thank you. Councillor Cernick, seconded by Councillor Clark. Any questions or comments on that? Councillor Walliser.
Are we making the motion to remove any property which owes less than half of the previous year's levy from the listing?
Good point, but I think, City Manager, that's already there, not?
No.
But do we need that as a separate?
No, should be part of the motion.
Should be the motion?
Yeah, it should be the motion.
It should be the motion, we're told. Thank you for that. Councillor Walliser.
You want to ask?
That's what I thought it was.
Good.
What was that?
Yeah, that's what I thought the motion was.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you. Councillor Vroba?
I'm not sure if the city manager can answer this, but how does this compare with last year? I think it's less than last year, actually.
Thank you, Councilor. I believe so too, but I would have to get back and double check.
Okay, I actually I'm 98% sure that this is less than last year, but it seems like there is quite a few, but there are a lot lesser amounts, and I think sometimes once they see themselves on this list, then hopefully they'll come in and pay their taxes. So
that's right.
That would be nice. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you for that. We've got the correct motion. Okay, all in favor, ready for the question? Carried, thank you. Okay, next, under executive reports, we have the fire chief's report for January. Could we get a motion, please, to accept his report? Thank you, Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Frank. Any questions or comments on that report? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, next, under introduction of bylaws, we have bylaw 2023-2068, solid waste rates, first reading this evening, being a bylaw of the City of Estevan in the province of Saskatchewan to establish, charge, and collect rate charges, rents, deposits applicable to the provisions of utility services by the City of Estevan. Where under the Cities Act, the city may establish, set, collect rates, charges, tolls, fares, and rent for the provision of utility services and may set the time and place where and the manner in which they will be payable. Okay, so Councillor Wallies, are you making the motion?
Your Worship, I'd like to make an amendment first.
An amendment? Okay.
The intention was for these rates to just be an extension of the 2022 rates for both 2023 and 2024, but specifically looking at refrigerators, you'll notice that in 2023 it's $35.50 and it decreases to $35 in 2024. To be consistent with 2022, they should all read $35.
Okay. Well, thank you for picking that up. And I'm sure, City Clerk, we can make that necessary amendment, and you'll make the motion with that amendment. Thank you very much, Councillor Walliser, and thank you for picking that up. Councillor Frank?
Thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, I will second the motion. I know we did do some significant increases over the last couple of years, which were quite necessary. Our rates were considerably lower, in some cases I think almost a third of what some of the cities are charging, so we needed to catch that up, especially because we do lose money on the landfill, so that's been necessary. I'm happy to see it be consistent for a couple of years, but the unfortunate fact of that industry is that regulations just cause it to be more and more expensive to get rid of waste. So keep recycling, fold those cardboard boxes. That's my lesson for everybody tonight. Councillor Ford's gonna laugh. So yes, I'll second that motion. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Brobe?
Thank you, Worship. And unfortunately, sometimes with these fees, we do have the odd person that will just take their garbage and especially mattresses, et cetera, and dump them off into the different municipalities, or sometimes on just the back of, I've seen it even by the apartments.
An approach, ditches.
Yeah, they'll dump them by the apartments, or they'll dump them in, like, just so everyone, I mean, again, the majority of people know that someone else has to pay when you dump your garbage in someone else's property. The good news is the majority of responsible citizens do take their garbage right out and take it there. But there's also a company, if someone here can help me with the name, where you can take your metal and different objects, refrigerators, et cetera.
I believe that's Berglot Steel.
Yes. So I just thought I would put that out there. If people want to save money on getting rid of their garbage that we think are garbage, someone else might actually take it off your hands for no charge.
Like the metal. Yeah,
right, the metal, or right,
yeah.
Or sometimes even refrigerator, stoves, things like that. So just, it's worth a call to find out if they're willing to take it, then great. And if not, if you do need to take it to the garbage dump, at least realize that the city's not making money off of this.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you for that, Councillor Vroba. And usually, and trust me, when people do dump garbage on the side of the road like that, it is gone through, and usually they do find the address of the person that's doing that. Usually they actually do, because people think, well, nobody will go through, but they take the time to do it. So, good point. Okay, so Councillor Ford.
Thanks, Your Worship. And just to actually add to that, if things are tight right now and you're doing some spring or winter cleaning, we do have our free landfill weekend 2 times a year. So if you can store your old mattress for, a couple extra months, save it till May and then take it for free.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
It's not free. No, what? It's not free.
mattresses, right?
You still have to pay for that.
Oh, I goofed that up. Yeah, that's correct. Yep. Never
But
mind.
it's
I
not
had
a
something
bad
else
rate.
in my head. Never
It's
mind.
not a bad rate.
Okay, I take it back.
No,
No, you're right.
That's a fair comment. The reason the mattresses are a little bit of a charge is because they're so hard to landfill with all the sprigs, the coil sprigs.
Yeah, I had something else in my head. Never mind.
No,
Take it all
no,
back.
no problem. Okay, are we ready for the motion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Under public report, hearings and reports, we have none this evening. Giving notice, and I hope I can say this right. We have the proclamation this evening, amyloidosis, and I have never heard of this before, Awareness Month, whereas March is Amyloidosis Awareness Month, a month dedicated to raising awareness, funding, research, supporting those living with amyloidosis and their loved ones, and whereas amyloidosis, I'm going to say this different every time, it's a group of diseases that occurs when an abnormal protein known as amyloid builds up in the tissues and organs of the body. Left untreated, the disease can result in organ failure and can be fatal. And whereas amyloidosis can mimic the signs and symptoms of more common medical conditions, and the disease can be challenging to diagnose, and where amyloidosis often affects people who are older or middle-aged. However, younger people have been diagnosed with this disease, and whereas some of the signs and symptoms of amyloidosis can include shortness of breath, weight loss, fatigue, swelling in the ankles and legs, numbness in the hands and feet, foamy urine, carpal tunnel syndrome, bruising around the eyes, enlarged tongue, and whereas early diagnosis can lead to better outcomes for both patients and their families, and whereas raising awareness about all the amyloidosis diseases, including hereditary and non-hereditary forms of the disease, can contribute to the building of healthier communities across Canada. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Roy Ludwig, do hereby proclaim the month of March as amyloidosis awareness in the city of Estevan, and ask our citizens to recognize the same. That was way too much after a long evening. Anyway, could we have the motion, please, to accept that? Thank you. Councillor Cernak, seconded by, that was, oh, yes, you need that, by Councillor Walliser. Thank you. Okay, next, motions from committee this evening.
Pass that motion, please. Your worship.
Oh, didn't, okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Carried, thank you. I'm still struggling with that word. Anyway, motions from committee, we have none. Consideration of bylaws, we have bylaw 2023-2067, Estevan Art Gallery and Museum, terms of reference. This evening, we'll do second and third reading. So could we please start with bylaw 2023-2067, a bylaw of the City of Estevan to provide for the appointment of the Estevan Art Gallery and Museum Board and to define its powers and duties. Okay, thank you, Councillor Vroba.
I will make that motion.
Okay, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Frank. Thank you. This is where I ask any comments, questions. Councillor Clark, go ahead.
Thanks, Your Worship. After 12 years, I see that Amber Anderson has resigned there. It will create a vacancy there. I don't think this would be affected by passing this, but I do think that there should be a time when we could perhaps have the arts people, the art gallery, museum, Souris Valley Theatre, Arts Council, and all get together and have a meeting to see if there's any synergies at this time, so that they can have a discussion on where we're going with all of our arts programs. I guess, like I say, I don't believe this stops us from doing that, but I do think it's something that we should have a discussion about at some time.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Clark. That's a very good idea. We talk about that all the time, but this would be a good opportunity to do that. And maybe we could also include from the board an exit interview with Amber on anything we can do better, any issues that she has, because she's been in there for 12 years, I think might be helpful for the board and for council. Go ahead, Councillor Vroba.
Thank you, Worship. I am the rep on that board, and we are planning the AGM and our regular board meeting soon, because Amber will be gone by the end of March, I believe. And so, yes, we're sorry to see her go, but we do have to make sure that we look forward to the future, and if there is any synergies that we can do prior to hiring the next curator or anything to that nature, somehow merging things together, I can bring it up with the board and see if there's any interest. And yes, so this is why they were hoping to have all of this done tonight as well, so that this can be in place prior to Amber leaving.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Vroba, and please give that due consideration, because it is something really we should be looking at, the synergies that can be had. We've talked about that for a long time.
And I will also talk to the president of the Art Gallery Museum and talk about an exit interview, and if they would allow me to be present for that.
Yeah, I hope they would. Thank you. I think that's a great idea. And we wish Amber all the very best in her future endeavors, and thank her for the job that she did for us and for the city of Estevan. Thank you, Amber, very much. Councillor Clark?
Perhaps just to wrap that up, Your Worship, could we send a letter to I've put the four down, the museum, the art gallery, Arts Council, Service Valley Theatre, and there may be other ones, to say that we would like to I guess facilitate a meeting among the groups.
That's a great idea.
I think if we put a letter to them and said, like, that's our intention at this time, is to.
That's a great idea. Give them the heads up, and let's get together and do that. Absolutely.
And certainly, if there's any other groups that somebody thinks of, whether the library should be involved or anything like that, but if there's other groups that we think that are in a similar situation, thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, sorry, Councillor Frank.
Thanks, Your Worship. Just further to that, I believe Councillor Vroba is you're on the Service Valley Museum Board, is correct? And I'm on the Service Valley Theatre Board and the Art Council Board. So, I think that I won't speak for your boards, but I'll speak for mine. I think they'd be very open to that conversation. So, I think between the two of us, we could probably make that happen. So,
great idea. Thank you all for helping in that. Appreciate that. Okay, no further questions. Ready for that motion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, next, considerations for bylaw 2023-2067, Estevan Art Gallery and Museum, terms of reference, third and final reading and adoption for use. Thank you. Councillor Walliser. Seconded by Councillor Ford. Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thank you so much. I think my tongue's getting pretty thick by the end of the night here. Anyway, inquiries. Councillor Vroba.
Thank you, Your Worship. Actually, the entire, pretty much every conversation I had the last 2 weeks were about the walking track rules, so all of mine were covered earlier. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Vroba. Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Your Worship. I had the opportunity to welcome the Saskatchewan Wildlife Federation to our community. They had a 3-day convention here in the comprehensive school. It seemed like it was well attended. They haven't been in our community for 50 years, so I do hope that we welcome them, that they will come back again sooner. Thank you.
Absolutely, and thank you, Councillor Clark, for standing in for me. I was out of town. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Councillor Walliser.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Estevan Curling Club has announced their 11th annual Slide into Spring Bonspiel. It's going to be held March 10th and 11th, and you can contact the Curling Club for details and to sign a team up.
Okay, thank you for that. Probably Pauline? Okay, thank you, Councillor Walliser. Councillor Ford.
Thanks, Your Worship. Just a congratulations to the Kinsmen and the Kinnets and for a very successful Tele-Miracle this weekend. I mean, they raised over $5.5 million, and some of that money goes back into our community and the residents of our community, so it's big congratulations to them. And as well, this week on Thursday, Dr. Eric Grimson from MIT is going to be here. He's going to come to the college to speak. This will start at 6 p.m. and tickets are free. You can get them on Eventbrite, or if you follow the Southeast Tech Hub Facebook page, you can follow the link through there. And if you don't know how to do any of that, just show up 6 o'clock at the Southeast College.
Thank you for that, Councillor Ford. And yeah, very interesting gentleman. Please come down and see him and ask any questions you may have. He has got quite the resume, that man. And again, congratulations to the Kinsmen and cadets. Great job. They do so much good in our community. It was fantastic that they got those kinds of monies. Councillor Cernan.
Nothing tonight. All of my inquiries, just like Councillor Verova, were all taken care of with the walking track discussion. So
yeah, I think we were all tied up with that in the last week, weren't we?
You betcha. It's good, good to see you go.
Thank you. Councillor Frank.
Many walking track discussions, but I actually also did have just a concern from one of the businesses on 6th Street, just saying that the road has gotten to be really rutted quite bad, so they just wanted to bring that up probably to our roads manager, just to see if we can get that graded a little bit better or do something. Just sounds like, I think with all the melting and freezing, that it's gotten really bad for them, so that's what's hard to drive on.
Thank you for that. City manager?
Nothing, Your Worship.
Okay, our city treasurer is in Mexico. Like a lot of people in our community were able to go, so hopefully she's having fun in the sun. City clerk?
Nothing, Your Worship.
Okay. Okay, well, having said that, do we have a motion, please, to move into committee? Thank you. Councillor Walliser, seconded by Councillor Frank. All in favor? Carried. We stand adjourned. Good evening, everyone.